Welcome to tonight's WPCA meeting. It is Wednesday, December 20th, 7 p.m. We have the full contingent here and our news member, Christine. Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Hello. Okay, we have an agenda posted online. Are there any proposed changes to tonight's agenda? Yeah.
I'd like to add a motion. Add to the agenda as the last item, item D, under number 5, item D. An update on current projects, a discussion on the draft reports for the operational audit, the organizational audit, and the asset evaluation.
Or, set.
Yeah.
Situation. Second on that? Second from Matt, all in favor? Looks to be unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, the others?
Yep. Mr. Bodie and I were talking after the meeting this morning, about, the New England Water Environment Association's annual conference in January. I don't know if we have to vote on anything, or I want to make sure there's a representative from the WPCA besides me that's attending the conference.
Okay, I'm gonna add that after D.
Motion. Sir?
And to add NUIA
Yeah.
representation.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you.
You want to take a vote now?
Yes, I'm gonna miss you. All in favor? To be unanimous. It's Ron's hand going up there, I think. Okay. All right, anything else? All right, let's get going. First item, approval of the November 15th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Motion from Chris, second from Matt, all in favor. Thank you, Joe. Abstain from Christine.
Ron put his hand up.
Ron, Joe, thanks for
I'll
coordinating.
abstain as well. I was late 15 minutes.
Okay. Move on to old business, discuss additional staffing need. Mr. Bodie, what do we have on this?
We discussed that last meeting with the budget that was approved by the commission. One half position was left out. There was discussion prior about adding another inspector, like a John Clancy job to do. This would be shared between us and DPW, split down the middle. He or she would do fog inspections for the restaurants, also help with call before you dig, safe streets, all that kind of stuff. So it was inadvertently left out by me last time. I did send in the request to Frank to be presented to the first selectman when the time comes. So just wanted to add that there'll be possibly an additional 38,000 salary and benefits.
Okay. John? Can I ask John a question?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Okay. Yes.
Who would that position report to?
It would report to me, as well as Bill Hurley in engineering and DPW director.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on that?
No, sir. Listen, that's just a wish list item right now. It has to go before the first selectman and go through the process. So it was left off to be included in the budget that was voted on last meeting.
Mr. Steiner?
What's the time frame, John, to get your additional staffing needs?
Well, it would have to be approved. It would be next.
But before, were the other ones approved that you sent in, the 3 or 4 that you?
Those have not been approved yet. That has to go through the process. So this would be budget 2025. Think about that.
Yeah.
John, would this be your direct report? You mentioned dotted lines, the other managers said.
The inspector would be between 3 of us, DPW, engineering, and myself. The other that we're asking for would all be under our umbrella.
That inspector has multiple, like,
Yeah,
John has nothing to do with the utility locate stuff, so that would have to be DPW direction.
Just think from an organizational standpoint, who's your people manager? I mean, who's gonna do the review of this person and so forth?
I guess it would be a three-headed review process between myself, Bill Hurley, and whoever is DPW director, yeah. Because we would all have interaction with them and expect different things, so I would assume it'd be that way.
All right.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Last time we were in a similar situation, you had identified the kind of ideal candidate, gone down the interview process, and then someone else was kind
Yeah.
of picked and plugged into that
Right, that
position.
person was yanked out and
Yeah, so how do we avoid that happening again?
that's a good question. That's a very good question. Perhaps this person wouldn't be wielding the full power hammer, so to speak, and it would be a three-person decision to whom we hire, and not somebody just coming in and say, this is the one. I wasn't there for the last one, so I'm not fully, but that's what I heard.
From a managerial standpoint, I just, I have a difficult time wrapping my head around it. I mean, just culturally, just, one manager to report to, you may, your duties may involve support to other departments. Serving three masters in my mind is that's difficult.
It's not in stone, and it's something we can certainly talk about when we sit down with the first selectman and discuss it. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Again, from an organizational standpoint, I just,
The only thing I see is, well, if us as DPW/engineering are paying half, how come we don't have a say as to what the person does or who they report to or something like that? That's all.
Yeah, I think we've learned our lesson on that.
Sure. Question.
Yeah.
You have enough work to add a full-time inspector? Can you
Yeah.
justify a full-time inspector?
Probably, seeing that we have no pod program in place, and that is something that we need to do. And that would take somebody, I mean, that's going out to restaurants and inspecting grease traps and all that kind of stuff, so.
So we send out 125 fog permits, so it's 125 restaurants a year. What does that equate to? Do you know how long it takes? What, 3 a day, 4 a day, roughly?
Yeah, I would say 3 a day, because you got to set up a time to go and
So that's 80 days. 90 days. It's not enough for full-time.
I don't know the logistics of a fog program. I don't know if you have to do it 4 times a year, twice a year. I don't know. But the other thing too is the call before you dig stuff and.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I mean, I didn't want
Yeah.
to concentrate on fog.
Yep.
The question was, do you have enough work to support a full-time position?
I'm sure.
I'll ask it backwards. Does the town have enough work to handle, to fill up a half-time
I
position?
think so, yeah.
A full-time position for the town side?
That I don't know. I would have to talk to Bill because there's a safe street stuff and the brief discussion we had was the town tries to go out and photograph or videograph streets, driveways, curbs. So before and after you can say this was like this and now it's better, worse.
Solution, I think.
What's up?
I think what we should do is approve a full-time position, potential full-time position, and let John go negotiate with the town and see if we're going to split the position or whether we add a full-time,
Makes sense.
rather than spend a lot of time. We could second guess ourselves all night here.
To Tom's point, I think there's gonna be a solid line and then dotted lines to others. There's a single solid line, so he's got one manager.
and that's
Then he still
fine.
Gets tasks.
Right. But if he's getting told conflicting things by two, that's not his job to rectify that. The manager's got to manage sideways.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay. I'll negotiate that and I'll bring Chris with me.
We'll just have that as discussion. Yes,
Yes.
yes. That's fine.
I would say we would negotiate that, but I would bring Chris with me because he kind of volunteered in previous meetings to sit down and discuss employees and staffing with the town and HR. So
I'm a people person.
He's a people.
They tell me.
Okay, let's add to the agenda and get that approved.
I'd like to make a motion to add an item to the agenda, new item to the agenda under old business, and that is the approval of a new head count to authorize in the 2025 budget, an inspector level position at 76K, approximately 76K.
Matt, all in favor? Aye, it's on the table.
It's on the table now. I'd like to make a motion to add that head count, one additional head count, which would be 6 new head count for you into the budget. This potentially will be a full-time head count at $76,000 to function as an inspector to the Department of, under WPF, CF.
Second from Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Move on to, I set the Metro Center update, next on the agenda as we have a consideration, few items away on the new development on Pike. So I thought it'd be helpful to have the
Beyond me.
Is it real? Huh. So, let's proceed with the Metro Center update. John, is that you or is that?
That's Mega. Yep.
Mega? Yeah. Tell us what's new with the Metro Center.
Line one, sorry.
Yeah.
East Front line, right?
Keith Trunkline, yep.
Yeah.
Project of many names.
So last time, right, phase one and phase two, we are combining phases. This phase two is handled by the same firm, phase one, ENB engineers. So last time we presented, we need soil borings, deeper, 25 to 35 feet that was pending, that was not done by Cardinal engineers. So that's where the DND has picked up from. So as of now, the soil borings are going on. We are hoping to finish by tomorrow. All the soil borings will be finished tomorrow. The whole reason of soil boring is to design the foundation. That's why the shoring is designed appropriately for the soil borings. So that's one update. Second update is utility coordination is very, very important in this project because there are a lot of utility duct lines, KV lines are going underneath Post Road specifically. I coordinated with Connecticut DOT 2 weeks ago because we were applying for soil borings permits. And the DOT informed me that they would like to have, permits before it goes out for bidding. So, well, I saw this whole checklist of what they need. And they need sewer bypass plan presented before bidding, it goes out to bidding. They want dewatering plan and they want excavation plan. And so 3 plans before it goes out to bidding. So I reached out to the consultant firm and saying this is what they need, because right now we still have it. Right? So, and tackle this. And on their suggestion, the DNB suggestion is that this should be done during construction because the contractor will be supplying all the sewage bypass plan, dewatering plans, and excavation plan as well, like how he plans to do the shoring work. So that's their take on it. And this is where Cardinal as well suggested it's contractor oriented. And they're suggesting contract, but DOT doesn't like that answer. So I reached out again to DOT and said, what do you want us to do? This is what a consultant recommendation is. And then DOT says that, hey, that's fine. Timeline wise, just be advised that it will take 6 months. It can take 6 months for us with post-road work. And I get it. Schedule wise, but consultant is saying we will start with phase 1, then we will move to phase 2. So while they're moving to phase 2, they can apply for the permits and we can start. It won't stop the project. So I informed DOT. I said this is schedule wise, we should be fine. But the question is DOT's, according to DOT, and this is their recommendation, that you are creating a lot of unknowns in this project if you are not telling the contractor if you're not providing any sewage bypass plan or dewatering plan, excavation plan, it creates a lot of unknowns. And my question is what unknowns I am creating here. I mean, I agree. I understand that bypass plan has to be provided by the contractor, what kind of pumping equipment, means and methods he is planning, and that has to be in the bidding. So that's one of the biggest questions that DOT is kind of warning us. So I reached out to DNB again and said, hey, you're creating unknowns according to DOT. Their construction experiences with other towns, as with the Stamford and with other towns and Bridgeport, is that they create unknowns. A contractor either don't bid or they bid it very high because they don't know what they're bidding at. And we can run into this similar situation. So what do you suggest? Well, first of all, we should keep in mind that from where DNB is picking up is definitely from where Cardinal left. So technically, if you are going to ask for additional stuff that DOT is asking right now, it will be extra scope of work. But if we ask during the construction, when the contractor is supplying this information, it is covered design services during construction. So that is already approved. One thing, this is how I'm understanding from my conversation with the consultants. Second, I said, well, here is the thing. First of all, sewage bypass plan, common sense, and it will make sense if you start from downstream and going upstream because you are adding more pumping rates. If you're going from up and adding, it's creating a lot of cost. It will be very, very heavily costly, expensive project it will. And the water tables are very high on this, so dewatering levels will be, again, he will be pumping 24 hours. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And if I start from downstream and contractors say, hey, this is the best, this what looks best option to starting from Post Road or Kennard Street and going up, then the permit has to be done sooner. Then you cannot just take a chance of waiting for 6 months or whatever, 4 months for this project, and just because it's going to be very costly. That was my conversation. So consultants understand this now. So they said, okay, let us see what we can do. The best we can do is let's put the plans together or the engineer cost estimate, like they had put it for phase one. So the engineer cost estimate, the unknowns will know like how much you're anticipating with this cost, with the engineering work that they will do with the cost estimate. And obviously that will be extra scope of work for us to do. So that's where a little bit of, we have to make a judgment over there, schedule wise, cost wise. They're the two major things that in phase two that I'm thinking I get it from the consultant firm, design services during construction, let it be contractor oriented, but then the biggest unknowns are unknowns. We don't know. DOT permits are coming into play. The sewage bypass plan is the biggest unknown, and not only that, there are so many conflict with traffic signals under wiring is going in Post Road. Push buttons or the traffic signal KV line is under Post Road. That will be, and this is why I reached out to the utility company a week ago just to give them the plans. And I have been reaching out to the utility company for a while. They were busy over there. Reaching, got the new contacts, which was recently supplied to us in the meeting, and they will review the plans for all the utility work, specifically underground wiring that is going. So they will get back to me the first week of January. Gas lines are all set. There is no conflict with the gas line, so we are all set in that part. Water company still has to get back to me. They started reviewing last month, and I've been following. I'll keep following with them because Water Aquarium Company, they had proposed a water line in this section. So with utilities, we are fine. With DOT permits, I'm coordinating with Connecticut Deep and CTDOT permits. Those are the main ones. We don't need any federal, other Army Corps, don't need those permits in this project. That's a good thing. For Connecticut D permit, now another thing is the environmental services, which they prepared the plan for all the groundwater remediation, all this soil remediation plan. There is a contamination going on in 2 locations, which are very major ones, and the other ones are not hazardous, but still has to be disposed of at the proper facility. That will add a very big cost to us too. So then again, when they're doing soil borings, we also included so that they do it once in a while and they know what to be stockpiled, how to dispose, and where to be stockpiled. So environmental firm is also with the geotechnical boring, and they are testing the samples together at the locations. So that way they will not have to do this again during the construction. Major, right now, we are also having a problem to find out where we will do the construction staging area for stockpiling. We have a very limited area. Also, it's all residential area, so we're trying to figure out that area right now, been coordinating with everybody in the town, maybe where phase 1 starts, maybe we can start using that area. Marina or any other places, still not able to locate that. I think at one point we will set up a meeting with Christine and John and everybody on board to go over the plans once again. And we will also discuss MPT plan. I'm doing MPT plan in-house, doing the sketches because I did the MPT plans recently, so I'm going to mimic that, give the sketch to start with. We will also have a meeting because of these holidays and the conflict. We will be holding a meeting with also police department because the post road will be shut down. They will have to reroute the traffic, so they will let us know how the traffic will be rerouted, which will be with DOT to at least we know what exactly we are looking for during this project. So this is what we are the phase 2 is ongoing. Permits we are doing, coordinating properly. With utility lines, we are coordinating in the meanwhile. They're doing this boring, which will be finished tomorrow. So as soon as these soil borings are finished, that's where MRCE group will start preparing an excavation plan for this job. And they will also prepare a detailed geotechnical investigation report, all the subsurface, which was a big thing missing last time in this project. So once that is done, they will put the together bid and unit prices, and should be prepared by the end of February. That's what they said, and it should be out first week of March. Would be bidded. We are anticipating, and I told them we have a strict this project. So this is a update.
Mega, on that, just going the February into the March timeframe, how do we, backing up from that, how do we generate a bit more interest in this project than we've gotten in the past?
Not creating many unknowns.
Okay.
And let it be clear for the contractor that what he is looking for. I think phase 1 has a lot of minor issues that they are reluctant to bid on, and they don't know what is going underneath, and an economical factor could be an issue too, right? This is why we also combining phase 1 and phase 2, that people maybe find it more economical to bid on these 2 phases together. So
On the, I agree with you on the unknowns, but wouldn't it be worth it for us to take out whatever unknowns there are and have D&B do your dewatering and your bypass plans all together, so everyone knows we're bidding apples to apples, and if we could do a cost savings, they could offer it, but at least everyone knows what they're gonna be bidding.
we can do
I think it would be money well spent
extra
on our end, but I would prefer to
Well, I mean,
on that too.
we were doing lump sum previously for task orders that were poorly defined. So switching to unit price alleviates a lot of that risk at least.
Do you think it would be worth it?
I mean, I'm concerned. Typically at like 30% design, you reach out to the major permit agencies. I can't believe that nobody had contacted DOT until 99%,
Yep.
the second or third time.
60% should have been
I mean,
submitted to
that's-
the
borderline negligence from an engineering firm. I'm
From
flabbergasted by that.
from the consultants, yes, what happened was when this whole project started 2021 and we were just on board, and started working, we had a meeting with Cardinal and specifically we said like, what are the permits that are holding? Oh, no, nothing, it's just DOT permit, which will be taken care during construction. This is what the Cardinal said. But, okay, you're confident enough, and now I'm reaching out to DOT for soil borings, and they're reminding, hey, just be cautious. This is what is still pending.
Regarding the, I mean, if they have strong preferences or like, do they have any standard details or anything that, I mean, I think DNB should be the ones doing that, but I mean, if they should be reaching out to DOT and finding out what their bypass requirements are, and at least, I mean, at a minimum, providing that in the contractor drawings so that right now, if you don't put any kind of bypass, then the contractor's just gonna make it up.
Perfect. I
If
get
they,
it.
if they're not allowed to just
Yes.
make things up, like if they have to follow particular DOT rules, those should be in the contract document.
Yes, and I agree with that. And this is why I was kind of going back and forth with both the entities. One is like, hey, we'll do it during construction, this is contractor oriented. One is like, no, you should do it now. And I'm like, okay, guys, let's do it now. But then, yeah, we can do that way, it will be extra scope of work. Instead of design during constructions, like, you know, yes, they can prepare these plans because it's a DOT permit, plans, we can ask them. I asked for the cost estimate, for the engineering cost estimate. They have come up with $18,200 just to put the cost estimate together. But it was for phase 1 and phase 2 together again to put the engineer cost estimate. My only question that I have to ask her, why you're including phase 1 when we already did phase 1 cost estimate, so why just not phase 2?
Do we need the cost estimate for anything? I mean, if we're going out to bid in 3 months, I mean, we're gonna do it regardless, and I don't know, I don't see any value in them wasting time preparing an engineer cost estimate when we're gonna get the contractor's real estimate soon anyway.
Yeah, that is true.
I would much rather them be focusing on at least a call to DOT or doing research and figuring out what are the standards that we need to provide. Because there's a balance there of having the engineer provide the bypass plans, then you're dictating it must be done that way. Whereas if you only provide the requirements from DOT and let the contractor, they have to play within that sandbox, but they can do it however they want. They might be able to come up with a cheaper option themselves than what the engineer comes up with. Now, obviously, you can't just let them say you do whatever you want when DOT is not saying that, but that's kind of the balance there, so.
So I feel like I can approach them and just ask for the best, like, let us know the estimate. I know one of the city has done the same similar project. I can reach out to the city
That's a good idea.
and I can talk to them tomorrow and ask them what they encountered and how they did this whole scenario. They also dealt with DOT for the permit, so it's a similar scenario. I'll reach out to them and see what happens, and at least they can give us a schematic and what was involved and how much money they had spent on this project. And also once I reach to the city and know more better, then I'll also reach to DNB after to get the scope, whatever is there. I completely agree, we should just fulfill the permits because it will be risky to go and sit there for, for again, that timeline game, and they have already warned us that it can take time, it depends on their schedule.
My questions are a lot simpler. You mentioned UI. Are we going to be in conflict with their monopole?
Black Rock, everybody clear from
We're
Connecticut.
far away from that.
Yeah, far away.
Do we ever have a solution for those 5 or 6 houses that we're going to disconnect? We have a solution?
Solution is that when the contractor is doing the work, he will just figure out the elevations. That's one solution. Second solution is hiring the surveyor right now. Giving the certified letters to those 6 houses, if somebody will be coming to your house and investigating the elevations of where your main lines are going, just to get the elevations of the basement, if it's, you know, going through the basement of first floor, get the elevations, and then we know the elevations and then go with our elevations.
And who's going to do that, Mega?
We can do it, engineering can do it, it will be,
Should do it.
the surveyors can get the elevations.
But I mean, who should put the letter together for the residents?
Combined, Christine and I both can work together on that. We are coordinating very well on these projects.
And then just, I know you're going with phase 1 and 2 here, but I'm going to take advantage of this, considering my good buddy over there, Mr. Brian Carey, is in the room, and the siphons.
Yeah,
What's going on with that project?
so it's.
That's a let me state that's a conservation project. What's going on with that project?
To bid, we extended the bid, because 2 contractors, they asked us to extend the timeline because of holidays coming and they couldn't, and because of the weather was very bad on Monday and they couldn't put the contract together. So we have extended until 4th of January, 2024, will be the bid for phase 3, 23 side.
So they're ahead of us.
Yes, so that's all.
Thank you.
We're gonna name those siphons after you.
No. I remember the meeting that he convinced us to put 2 siphons in because it wasn't going to cost us anything. Conservation was going to open that bridge.
I have one follow-up question. So on the 6 houses, that's being included in base scope on that?
Yes.
How?
Sorry, in the.
So the 6 houses that we haven't done any engineering on to do connections, how is that being? Can we just do an allowance, or, I mean, can we do something? Again, talking about the whole unknown thing and how that scares contractors. That's not even designed, like, can't we, I'd rather kick that down the. I mean, yeah, do something, either like get it out of this contract and we just do it as a separate project after the fact, or do it as an allowance within this one.
Totally
But
separate.
it's not part of base bid, like we basically just say, I don't know, $100,000 allowance or something to at least do the investigation to figure out the feasibility
There
or.
might be someone else that does it, because all they're gonna do is put the laterals off and leave it. They're not gonna
Yes.
go through and that's it.
I don't-
So it
I
might
don't
be
like the idea of.
someone else.
Yeah, okay, if it's just the 6 Ts in the main line and then they have
We'll
to
just do
figure out
laterals,
connections,
and then
that's
we'll
fine.
figure Connections out. I think that's all they should be in the
We
bid.
didn't do that, elevations are.
Good point.
The standard.
Separately. and-
We're just doing
That's a good
yeah,
point.
the capped off Ts in the main line and then that,
Line.
we're done. That's, I think
Never know.
that's the extent of what we can actually provide.
It's deep enough. They can go all the way around the whole house. And they're still gonna have the line out there where they could run into, so.
Mega, that's been super helpful. Can you
Thank you.
join us again in January?
Sure, I can come.
Let me rephrase that. Can you join these guys?
Us.
I'll be on the screen
No name.
as guest.
Yes. Unverified.
You can invite me anytime, don't hesitate. I take it as a teamwork. Christine and I are very well coordinating on these projects, so it's a very good team with John, Christine and our engineering department, so don't hesitate to call anytime. You know, if you need to present this.
We're lucky to have you, Mega.
Yeah, he's been wonderful, very much so.
It's a good team here.
You do.
It helps.
Thank you for a great year. Okay.
Thank you.
See you next month.
Next month, yeah, just let me. Yeah,
Send you the agenda.
I love this.
All right.
2 weeks.
All right, also somewhat related to flow coming through this area, we have Dennis Divert from Wright Pierce to talk about the phase 5 I&I repair priorities and cost estimates. Hopefully we can reduce some flow coming through this area. What do you think, Dennis?
Want a copy? Does anybody need a copy? Here, just pass. Well, sorry.
I got mine.
Soft copy and a hard copy. You wanna?
Thanks. All right. Thanks
I have one,
everyone
but
for having
Just
me.
need one.
You
have one?
5 to 10 minute summary presentation of the work that's been going on since 2016. I put this presentation together just really, I suggest that you folks hold on to it because I can't count how many times someone has asked me, what have we done? So far. So this is just a good summary of everything that we've done since 2016. So I'm just, again, second page, just an overview of what I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna start with the 2016 facilities plan that we did. And then the 5 phases of sewer and FCS work that we've done since 2016, and then present you with some options for next steps that the commission should consider and coordinate with John on how you would like to proceed. So page 3. Again, in 2016, the town went out for a QBS process through Connecticut DEP Clean Water Fund. They received a 55% planning grant to do a facilities planning study. I got just selected for that. As part of that effort, we did an I&I component where we installed 40 flow meters in town. So we divided up your 210 miles of sewer into 48 sub areas of about 5 miles each. That comprised of 40 flow meters, and we used the data from the 8 pump stations. With that, we took all that data. I think we had meters in for 8 weeks. And we pared that down to 15 of the 48 sub areas were selected for additional investigations. If you recall that report, the majority of these areas were on the western, were immediately in or adjacent to the East Trunk. So everything that you've been talking about this evening. So there was a gap from when this work was recommended and when it was actually done. So we recommended doing smoke testing, TV inspection, building inspections, nighttime flow checks. That work did not happen until 2022 and 2023. But what the town did decide to do instead of that was start fixing things that were found. So phase 1 was initiated by, I think, the engineering department. They went out for RFP. Again, Ray Pierce was selected to do the phase 1 and phase 2 work. These are small projects, folks. These phase 1 through phase 4 are in the $100,000 to $250,000 range. You did not do a lot, and we did not spend a lot of money. Again, just started dabbling in the repairs. And most of the repairs that were done in the first 4 phases came from a handwritten list that John and his staff had been keeping for years. So we just decided to start tackling some of those items. Again, in phase 1, we lined 30 manholes. And we also lined a good chunk of Fairfield Beach Road, which was had a lot of known leaks in it. And we also did some additional CCTV work. Yes, Matt.
Did you guys do design and DSTC, or was this all evaluation? What were the services under these?
This was design
Design, okay.
and very limited construction oversight.
Okay.
I think at the time it was Chris Rogers
Okay.
was overseeing the construction piece.
But all of these were designed and then the work.
All
was
designed
carried
and
out.
all carried through.
Perfect,
Yep,
thank you.
you got it. So phase 2 was actually an amendment to the purchase order we were provided for phase 1. So those 2 phases were combined, and that's generally the work that we did there. In 2021, phase 2, we sealed 15 manholes and we raised 5 manholes along the East Trunk. This is the area of the East Trunk behind, help me,
Board of Ed.
Board of Ed. So if you go and walk down into the woods behind the Board of Ed, you'll be walking in a swamp and you'll see these manholes are, 4 feet in the air. They didn't do a great job, the contractor, the first time around. We had to have them come back and do some additional repairs on those.
And we also lined a gravity main on Rugby Road in phase 2. And that was in 2021. At phase 3, excuse me. Phase 4, we were running out of things to repair. So we decided to do some maintenance, some O&M work on the system. We cleaned all the siphons and televised them. All the siphons were found to be, well, not all the siphons. We didn't do the one you were speaking about earlier, because that was slated for replacement or repair. But we did clean the other siphons. We televised 7,000 feet of main. We plugged a couple of open lifting hole hooks in some manholes where water was just, you had a 2-inch diameter hole, water was just pouring in. So that was a good find by Mark. And then we did line gravity main on Black Rock Turnpike, Kings Highway, and Post Road. That was actually the change order that wasn't done until recently, in the late summer of this past year. So that brings us to phase 5. So phase 5 was all field work. Phase 5 took over from where we left off in 2016. And we did all the smoke testing, the manhole inspections. We did 238 building inspections, and we did 50,000 feet of camera work on your mains. And again, those areas were all strategically selected with John and his staff. In the end, you have a nice big report that you can read at your convenience. But we found a lot of stuff, really, to be honest. I'm only listing the major things that we found here. So we recommended sealing 73 manholes, lining or doing some sort of trenchless rehabilitation to about 15,000 feet of gravity mains. We found 7 catch basins that were connected to the sewer system that should be disconnected. And we found 12 substantial clean out caps. And when I say substantial, I mean they were in low-lying areas below grade, where standing water can just go right in. And a clean out is in someone's home. It's on their sewer lateral before it goes out to the main. So a clean out is on private property. But again, you should be able to approach the homeowner and ask them if you can repair their clean out. The sump pumps are going to be a little bit more difficult. We found 8 large sump pumps that were directly connected. Don't recall exactly where they were off the top of my head, but we can discuss how to approach getting rid of those. The only way I have ever seen it done is if the town offers to pay to have a plumber come in and redirect, because it is an illegal connection, but you can't. How are you going to force someone to remove it? It never worked for me. Yes, Joe.
I have a plan on how to do that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Can I steal it if it works?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Tax lien, when he goes to sell his property.
Exactly. That's a long-term solution, and it could be a short-term solution as well. But yes, absolutely,
We're
absolutely.
going to pay a plumber to go in there.
Well, exactly.
Okay.
So, we prioritized, when you do this work, you prioritize on a scale of 1 through 5. That is the NASCO road width. 1 being the lowest priority and 5 being the highest priority. So we broke those findings up into 2 phases. There's about $3 million worth of rehab work that you have. So the question is, do you want to do it all at once, or do you want to break it up into 1, 2, or 3 phases? But I think the general consensus is in town is we found enough for right now. Let's get it fixed. And then when it's all fixed, we start looking again. Okay. So again, repair what we have found and have another phase 6, if you will. Some things for you folks to consider is, how many phases do you want to do it in? How are you going to fund it? How are you going to appropriate the funding? Are you going to, you have to have an engineer design it. You're going to go out to RFQ and RFP again, whatever the town's procurement and purchasing requirements are. We certainly understand that. And then develop a bid package for bidding. If you go out now, or if you just give right purchase order, we can have this designed, and you can have it, work commence this summer. Now, I know it sounds like you have an awful lot going on this year. But again, it's, something for the commission to consider and discuss moving forward. That's really all I have, but I'm here to answer any questions.
So Dennis, this came up in conversation earlier today. We have about 210 miles of pipe. And we have done inspections of about 10 miles. Wait, is that about right?
Well, over the course, if you add up everything we did in the other phases, we're probably closer to
12?
12 to 15.
So like 5%.
Yeah.
Okay, so if this is like one of the single biggest issues we have, 50% of the flow coming into the plant being I&I, is 10% or 5 to 10%, understanding of our infrastructure, is that adequate?
I mean, no, it's not.
I mean,
You
so,
really should televise your entire system. As part, which is actually not a requirement, but a suggestion for CMOM. If they were to ever approach you, they could force you to do that. But you're fairly proactive compared to other communities. I don't see them picking on
and what's the, what does that cost?
the TV.
Yeah.
No, it's expensive. It's it could be anywhere from $2 to $3 a foot, depending on the size of the pipe.
And is camera technology the best technology, or is there better technology out?
There are other technologies. There's sonar, there's a laser radar type thing, but I find that those are really only good for determining if the pipe is out of round or squashed or there's a sag in it. It gives you a profile of the pipe. You really only need a camera. You just track down that line and see where there's water pouring in and stop and record it. So it really is the most efficient
Okay.
and the most cost-effective way.
So we think there's a sag in the line going where the old Fairfield lumber is, the Cinto property, for instance.
Yeah.
Have we sent any apparatus in there to see if we're pulling in that swamp?
Not that I am aware of. I don't know if John know.
I don't believe so.
I know that if you remember, on the post road, we had a sag. Or we thought we had a sag, and they couldn't camera it because the camera went underwater. So we thought we were gonna have to dig up the post road, but they wound up, Vortex was able to fix it without digging it up, but yeah, it would show sags.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, given, we're gonna talk about this, many of our pipes, major pipes are at 40, 50, 80% capacity, so they're underwater, so how do we really know what's going on?
So all the pipes we've televised were far enough up the branch that they were maybe, a quarter full. And we were gonna televise it. When we televised over by, I can't remember where we televised, but we actually bypassed, or we stopped flow so that we could televise that line. Now you're talking major work. So it would be selective when when you would wanna do something.
It seems like the entire east trunk line should be evaluated. No?
Yeah, I mean, I would float a camera down it on a little pontoon, is what we would do, but you don't see what's under the water, like you said. But the infiltration would be, I mean, your pressure, if you got a hole in the pipe, you're not gonna see it. But there really isn't a good technology. That sonar is like $15 a foot. So you would want to do it in an area where, you might want to just do like one section of pipe that there may be a problem. But I think, John, I think over the years since you've been here, the plant flows haven't really changed. So as you fix stuff, you allow people to connect and they kind of offset each other. It seems like what's been happening.
As I mentioned earlier today, when we had a big rain, we used to go from 9 million to 28. Now we're going to 20. Do I quantify that by I&I? I can't say for sure, but I think so. And subsequently in the summertime, when it's dry and the flow is low, we're down to 3 million. And too much is not good, but not enough is worse.
Right.
So there, seat of the pants meter, yes, we've done some good with the INI, but I can't quantify it and say.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ron Drew,
Yeah,
you found your little hand emoji.
yeah.
Great.
Quick one. I'm not gonna take a. Today, I think it was on Channel 12 News. They announced that Jim Hines I believe it's Jim Hines, found some money for pump stations and for renovations or repair to water lines. And it may be because of the recent or whatever, but John, you may want to give his office a call and find out exactly, what
Oh, wow.
what the deal is on it.
Let everyone
I'll
know.
do that.
Everyone know.
John, I already did it with Kristen Davey.
Okay.
Yeah, look, every town's got this issue, right?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you, I was in Cheshire today and they are still recovering from the storm. They had they had wastewater coming out of tanks, the plant was flooded with wastewater. It was a mess. So, I mean, you guys are just in pretty good shape compared to New Haven, Bridgeport, some of these other communities.
I just want to go back to what you were saying about, so we've only done 10 miles out of the full system, but that's from the flow monitoring in 2016, that's the worst.
Yeah, so let me tell you how we prioritized it. Maybe it'll make a little more sense. So we took a look at the data. EPA has a guideline. It's 4,000 gallons per day per inch diameter mile of pipe. So that's a calculation that you do based on this diameter of the pipe, the length of the pipe, and what your flow meter was reading. And they say that anything over 4,000 gallons per day per inch diameter mile is considered cost effective to repair. Meaning that dealing with it and treating it is more cost effective if it's less than that. So that's how we set our basis. Like you have some that were like 20,000 gallons per day per inch diameter mile, but anything under 4,000 was not looked at. But that doesn't mean in 20 years that those areas are not going to be.
Of course not.
So you have to keep going. This is just forever. You guys are gonna be doing this forever.
My point more just being that if we had done nothing in terms of CCTV program, and so, yes, we still have a ways to go, but we hit the highest priority areas, so we're getting the biggest bang for
My
our.
recommendation is you guys have a separate line item in your budget of $100,000 a year. And you do $100,000 a year of TV inspection every year, regardless of whatever else is going on. And as you find things, you put it on a list and then you hit it.
Yeah, Matt, I agree. I just think that some of the areas that we need more knowledge of do not lend themselves to camera technology.
Fair enough, but at the same time, one thing we could do is do this 3 million of repairs that obviously very much needs to be done, and then do another flow monitoring and see how much INI we've removed. I mean, it's not that difficult to calculate system-wide the INI because you know your diurnal flow patterns. So you can subtract dry weather from wet weather and figure out roughly how much INI you have in your system. And so once you do these repairs, you can see how much INI has decreased. And then from there, you can also doing the subcatchments the way you guys did. It shows you at least like, obviously the more meters you set up, the more granular the data, but I mean, 40 is quite a bit. And so you set them up even in the same areas that you did in 2016. And you can even compare the difference between the 2016 data and now. Obviously, it's not apples to apples. Our system's older, there's new development. I mean, there's a lot of different
We
factors.
use a lot of the data that you guys are using and Brian was using is from that initial metering.
It sounds like we should do the 40 again and capture that information in a usable database.
Which we're working on, I hope.
I want to say, I want the hydraulic.
On our
line.
update.
Really, the hydraulic.
On our update on the minutes here that we updated, right? Are we
Calibrated.
gonna be doing all that?
I think you're leading the charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to that.
I mean, it's about $200,000 the cost to put those 40 meters in, just so everybody knows.
And all this data that we're doing, because we're kind of talking, I know we're kind of doing a lot of, plan analysis and everything. How are we gonna get this data into a usable software that we could go and look at and say, okay, well, here's the camera data from this, or here's the flow metering from these pipes here and that?
I have all the data and electronically, you guys plug it into your GIS, whatever you want to do. We generated a hydraulic model of your interceptors. You can have that too. I mean, it's all yours. You paid for it.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to make it user friendly and easy, so at least a lot of the developers that are here, we don't have to make them wait for 2-inch rainstorms. You can say, oh yeah, we did that and back in 2021. Let's just do that. We could add on the new info and go from there, but we just need that system or that advice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, oh, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, please.
He asked two of my questions, but I still have
Yeah.
two more. One is to John, actually. Is that the other half of the guy monitoring this flow data? The inspector we just put in for full-time, can he
Sure.
be the
Yes.
one, make it a full-time job? It would be, don't have to answer it, that's a rhetorical question, but think about it. And the other one's for you. And Dennis, what's it take? Do that, obviously we need a camera, we need a car with people going out and doing whatever they're doing, not diverting the, not backflowing it. Taking those pictures, what does it take staff-wise to do that?
So in my opinion, Fairfield is a big enough town where you should have your own camera truck. You should have someone dedicated to be cameraing all day long.
That's what I'm asking. Okay, that's what I'm asking.
That is because the cost of the truck, you're gonna get your money back after a year or less.
I just wanted to verify that.
Camera truck's about,
Just so the commission knows, John and I put that in the budget. The budget
you
coming
need
up.
a flusher truck too.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
That's.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So I mean, you have any questions?
Thanks, Dennis.
Got it. Have a good holiday. Nice to see you.
Well, let's move on to,
Sorry, one more question for Dennis, I'm sorry.
Back up there.
You said, you guys did a hydraulic model.
We did.
That was back in 2016.
Did.
That's the last time it was calibrated.
It was.
We great starting point.
Use Sewer CAD. And you can have the model if you want, for sure. It was calibrated. We only did the interceptors. We did the east trunk. We did the west trunk.
Yeah.
And there's one in the center. Another one. There's three. Right? You have three main interceptors.
Two.
East trunk, west
Trunk,
trunk.
west trunk.
Okay, well, whatever. We did those two.
Unless you built something while you're out.
I didn't.
thank you again, Dennis.
All right.
Thanks, Dennis.
Folks.
All right.
Happy holidays.
Sorry to keep.
Get back to you, John.
Yep, okay.
New business, we have election of officers, a newly vacated chairman position. In a terrific 11 years, almost 11 years. With, yeah.
Go on like an even number? 12 or 14?
It's 10, so that's even. I said almost 11.
Almost 11, okay.
So election of a chairman and vice chairman for next year. I was gonna make a motion, but that's not right.
Make a motion.
You want to make it? Go ahead.
Yes. Joe Fonzo for chairman.
You like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Matt as the chairman of the WPCA for the next 4 years.
Is there a second? Is there a discussion? Matt has forgotten more about wastewater treatment than I've ever known, so I think that's brilliant. All in favor?
Do I vote for myself?
You better.
Either way, you got it.
Fine.
Hey.
You got it for the full 4 though, huh? That was the motion.
That was a really,
Yeah.
that was a smooth move right there.
Vice Chairman, motion?
Make a motion.
See how this one goes.
I'll second
And
that.
the title, the CFO. All in favor? Let's be unanimous.
How many years?
4.
How many years? That wasn't,
Oh, yeah, what?
And put it in, it's
there's
fine.
no thing in the motion for the years.
Next year we'll vote again.
Yes, congratulations.
Nice job.
Let's add meeting date for 2024.
There was a list.
It's back up.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting dates as they appear in the backup. For
Second.
24. And I did check on the Jewish holidays and the other conflicting religious holidays, and we're fine with all of that. Just so everybody knows.
Second from Tom, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote for the heck of it. All right, thank you, gentlemen. We are now at to hear, consider, and act on 81 Black Rock Turnpike multifamily development.
Just one question, just before you get started, just reading your report. There's no name or signature on who did the report. And I found that in the same thing last month too.
Address that. Last month did happen.
Okay.
Yeah, that's stamped.
Okay.
So Mike Bartos, who's the paragraph project.
Thank you. Yeah, so if everyone could introduce themselves for the record, that would be great.
Starting with you. Sure. Montelli, residential.
Good evening, Tom.
Brian Carey, Land Tech, representative for residential.
Anyone online?
Mhm.
Online.
Mike Bartos from, engineer from Land Tech.
That Mike? Yep, there you go.
Put his hand.
All right.
I'm Ron Drew. I'm a WPCA commissioner.
Hear what Ron said.
He was introducing himself.
Okay.
Just as a brief introduction before it discusses the report, and my name is Tom Montelli. I'm a partner at Road Residential. We're a Fairfield, Connecticut-based development company. Our office is right downtown over the Sacred Heart Community Building. We've been here for 25, 30 years since my father started the company. My father, myself, the other partner in our company all live in Fairfield. We've done a little bit of work in Fairfield as well on a project called The Anchorage, which is the former Knights of Columbus building. Just a very brief summary about our company. We would consider ourselves sort of like an entrepreneurial development firm. We're very small. We're a 6-person firm, and we don't do a ton of projects. Our motto is quality over quantity. The vast majority of our business is in Metro Boston, but we do a few select projects in Connecticut. And this project, our proposal at 81 Black Rock Turnpike, is exactly the type of project we're very passionate about. Not only its location, but because we call Fairfield home, and we care a lot about this project, and we think it's going to be fabulous. Just a quick summary about the site, the history of the site. It's encompassing part of the former Bullard Machine Tool industrial campus. It's got a pretty cool history. All the way from where EJ's currently is, all the way basically to the Accurate development site that used to be one parcel, about 30 acres, when Bullard Machine came to Fairfield in 1920. And when they went out of business in the 80s, they started parceling off and selling their land. And that's basically how you get sort of the current conditions today with the various landowners there. A brief history about sort of where we stand today in the process overall with the proposal. We went through a text amendment process, town planning and zoning. And the text amendment that we achieved And the project that we presented at that time was really all in light of the TOD study that Goody Clancy conducted for town planning and zoning. And we felt and continue to feel that our proposal is a great example of what that study wants and what the town of Fairfield kind of hired Goody Clancy to do, and what it suggests that what good sort of transit-oriented development should look like in certain areas of Fairfield. So we're extremely passionate about this project. We think it's a great fit. We worked countless hours with our adjacent neighbors to try to create a sum that's greater than the parts in that little area. Because I think the town, me personally, I think this little area of Fairfield is the next area of growth, and I think it could be really, really tremendous with all of the different synergistic uses that are going to come up there. And I think it's just going to be a great amenity in general for the town and the residents there. It's going to have a vibrant sort of mix of uses. And, we spent a lot of time talking with the adjacent landowners, not only the Connecticut DOT and Accurate, as well as the new brewery that's going in. So we've had a really enjoyable process thus far, and we're really, really passionately excited about the project. So I'm happy to answer any details about the project. I can do that now. I can do it after Brian presents, but thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom.
So I'm just gonna run through the report real quick. Again, Mike Bardos is the engineer of record who's actually on, he's on Zoom. I couldn't drag him out here before Christmas, so. But we've been working for Fourth Road Residential for about 9 months, helping them do all of their design plans, civil design plans, and basically shepherd them through the entitlement process. So that being said, we work with John Clancy they did request that we do additional flow monitoring as part of the application. That was conducted in October and November of this year. The monitors were actually installed far down gradient of the site. One down by Badge Court and the other one just upgrading a bit further on Riverside Drive. So we did monitor, we did achieve the threshold that the town set for 2 half-inch rainstorms over that 6 to 8 week period. Mike Bardos basically calculated the flow based on the proposed volume of the residential and mixed-use development, which is, if you go, I mean, really just a quick overview. Everything is for calculations are submitted in Appendix D, and it shows the breakdown of the, basically one studio apartments, 122 one-bedroom apartments, 2-bedroom apartments, and 10 3-bedroom. So based on those flows, we came up with a number of it was basically 0.342 CFS that would be going into the system. That's when you calculate with the peaking factor. The overall gallons per day would be 55,530 gallons a day. Peaking factor by 4, which is required, which the WPCA requires to be theoretically 221,320 gallons. So when we plug that in to the numbers for based on the flow monitoring, we determined that the base measured flow at the site, maximum measured flow at the site was 7 CFS. The addition of 0.34 CFS from the project combines to 7.34 CFS, which is basically below the maximum theoretical capacity of the pipe, which is 9.2 1 CFS. So you're looking at basically volume of the pipe being at about 80% once the additional flow is added in. That being said, Again, Mike Bartos was able to calculate it. There is capacity in the line to facilitate this project. We are working right now on the accurate report, which I'm hoping to have for the next month. We're looking at that. I do have the numbers based on their theoretical, what has been approved, which for them was 91,000 gallons per day or 0.59 CFS. If you add this project into what has been already approved for them, you still are under capacity for the pipe you're looking at. Both projects, you're at about 86% capacity for both projects. One of the drawbacks that we have in town and both PCAs is these projects are approved, but they're not necessarily built. Let's put a two-year window. So to add compound approvals for flows that may or may not get built, it's really hard to kind of theoretically say that that project's definitely going to get built and try to reserve those types of flows into the pipe when there's other things that may or may not come up. That was the background about why there has been so much flow monitoring done per individual projects when they come in. Because I don't think there is any list per se where if a project is approved, someone's seeing it's built and then that added flow it's just done. It's not calculated until you do the flow monitoring again, get real-time data, and then basically calculate that back in there. But for the size of the project, the flow is actually, 55,000 gallons. It's not that much of a contributor. The accurate project again is 91,000 that was approved. So Mike's here to answer any questions. I can answer any questions. He's more of the technical guy, but
Yeah. Just quick one, Brian. The 86%, when you use the theoretical for Metro,
that's including the accurate.
yes, and is that, and the 4 and the multiplied by 4, I assume you did the whole calculation
correct.
correctly. Is that for the existing pipe or the proposed pipe?
That's for the existing pipe.
Okay.
So if you were gonna make it up, so if you were gonna look at the proposed conditions, which we did calculate in the report, for the 36%, and if we're just talking about this project, once you increase, I know it gets confusing because I don't want to, let's just talk about this project. If we approve this project right now, it will be for the 30-inch pipe existing, you're looking at an 80% capacity of.
I saw that in the report, right?
But once the project for upgrade it from 30 to 36 inches, you're looking at 78% capacity.
But neither one of those calculations includes anything proposed at Metro. Those are the 4 buildings basically that we approved. Okay, thank you.
That represents getting in line. If you have a head of line, no comes in behind you essentially.
It's kind of the.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Approval from planning and zoning, or are you going to them next?
No, they're going to them next.
Yeah, you come typically, you come down to first.
Planning and zoning for us personally was like a 2-pronged process. Text amendment first, and then the site plan approval. Site plan approval. Tentatively late January.
So there's no state, like the state law required to be a conservation approval before you go to that zoning approval. That's not the case for WPCA. So a lot of times the threshold to go to WPCA is a lot lower as far as cost is concerned to figure this all out. So rather than go through a lengthy P&Z process and get approval and then realize you're not going to be able to get WPCA, most people come to WPCA first before
We find they
going
first
through.
before they waste time
hearings.
forward.
So
Chair, can I have one more question? Based on the size of the proposal, you feel you'll get through planning and zoning, or you think you might have to change the design? Reduce the design? No, my question. We'll get through at this level. Thank you.
I think the key is that the I-9 upstream of the site, that's been, I was glad to hear Dennis say that they have been working on raising those manholes in the swamp, because that's been a really low-hanging fruit that can be addressed.
Matter of timing.
That's where the bang for your buck is, rather than.
Do you have any concern about tapping into the line itself, kind of where the lateral is?
No,
Okay.
not. I think it's an 8-inch line.
It's in terms of what the flows may be in that part of the line. The flow monitoring was down by the post road.
No, I think that the issues are further down. Down basically near Kennard Street. I mean, this is its own, so they'd be tapping in over here, which doesn't have, a lot of the flow comes down. It's actually cuts straight through the center of the Metro Center where the concourse building is proposed. There's a 90 there that I would be more concerned, but I mean, that's probably a day or two's worth of work to do that, for them to do that. With that lateral in.
When we were talking about lining that pipe back in the day, there was discussion about increasing kind of the efficiency of the velocity, which presumably you'd get with the new pipe as well.
Yes.
Does that come into play in the calculations?
Yes, so that's basically, and I'll let Mike answer that because that's but that's baked in there because the coefficient would change for the smoothness, that's the Manin coefficient would change. So I think there's other issues with that, the wetland crossing pipe, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Lining, that's what they're talking about in 2018. I think that pipe is past being able to be lined with the cribbing and everything. That's.
Yes, no, it'll be.
Sorry, what's that in CFS?
My only thought is, do we know what we're not approving? I mean, by approving this, we're blessing project, we're effectively qualifying, other projects.
I don't know. I mean, that's always been kind of a.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm actually involved with a project in Bolton that's at court right now because they were trying to reserve capacity for some other project that may or may not come up. And I don't know what the outcome of that case is gonna be, but I've never, I mean, you can't anticipate what's gonna happen upline or hold capacity for some other person at the behest of someone else. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems is you just don't know. They don't get built. And also as far as, this project has been come along pretty quick with a short amount of time because they have, it's a good project, it's well managed. And then you have other ones that are out there.
Chris?
On this, Brian, did you calculate it as a empty site or there was once a building on that site?
Not, because it just, that building's been knocked down
Yeah,
and.
But technically, as of right, it should have capacity
Correct.
to tap into the line.
Yes, correct. So, we didn't look at that specifically. It was a warehouse building. It hadn't, I mean, that was defunct for years and years and years.
I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, there used to be Dan's warehouse equipment in there, and I don't know if you ever went in there, but it was just a one side shop.
We also put a limit on how far we can look back on
Right.
prior use.
I think that's, you know, as frustrating it is for the developers. I don't really see a way to get away from doing kind of the snapshot with the flow monitoring. You just kind of have to do it especially for a size of this project, you know, if it's a residential house or something, you know, or that subdivision. I mean, even that subdivision we did a couple months ago, we did flow monitoring. Just to
We're setting about
resident vendors.
15 Oakwood to deal with.
Yeah, I just, you know, I look at the number of assumptions that are made here in terms of actual use of, you know, water use, how much water is going into the sewer. 1,000 gallons a day for car washing, and is that actually going into the sewer?
So that's above and beyond. I mean, those are theoretical. You look at the state health code to calculate a lot of that. I mean, there's some calculations that are based on per seat in the restaurant. So.
Or pool use.
Pool use, yeah. So, but it's a chart in the health code, and basically you try to plug that in and make it conservative as possible.
I think we as a commission can make some judgment calls on that. I also think that the technology that's going into these buildings in terms of water use is really advanced versus health code lines. And I would be curious if we have, or we can get water usage from what is it the Cornerstone? What's the name of the trademark that we approved a number of years ago that's now been up and running for a few years?
I think the peaking factors that are applied are used to take into account some of the, I don't want to say inaccuracies of the estimates in some of these, because you're doing 4 times the volume.
Yeah.
So, I mean, most towns are using a peaking factor of 4 when you're calculating this. So that, you know, when you look at the peaking factor, you know, the gallons per day, gallons per day that are 55,000, basically calculated up to almost 250,000 gallons per day. So, you know, that's the number that's going into this. So there is a very conservative estimate in that.
Yeah.
You know, we do have the water usage at Trademark. That's what we base our bills on. So we did buy that, and we own that information if you want to see what Trademark's using from a water usage point of view
Versus what was approved.
versus what was approved. And
I
then
mean, to do something that's precedent setting, we really need data, right? And that's kind of what we're kind of mumbling over here. You know, how do we get data versus some health department regulations that are then multiplied by 4 as we try to opine on a project that's important to the town and would add significantly to the master list.
So generally, the idea was, you know, as Dennis said before, as these projects come online, there's also the I&I fee that goes into the reserve account that then is used to tackle those types of projects, so that, you know, as they said, something comes on, it's got new flow, but you're also using that I&I money fee to remove the flow, so it balances out. I mean, short of real-time monitoring data on all of the pump stations don't even have real-time polarizers, so.
We have pump runtime, but we don't have flow meters on every.
So, I mean, having that type of data where you could actually see, you know, real time where you know, not just at the plant, it comes up, goes down. If you had pump stations that's not that much of an investment. That kind of.
Chris?
When the other site got approved there, that's what the accurate site or whatever you call it. Even with the additional, right now, it would be above the 80% threshold if they all went online. Is that a correct assumption?
So basically. Cheat sheet here.
That was approved with the new pipe being online, but right now, it's, if it went online right now with the pipe, the 30-inch pipe, it would be above 80%,
At 86%.
86. And then when you said that you're gonna increase it to a 36-inch pipe, you're at 78% without the accurate or with the accurate?
No, I'm sorry, with, so with the 36-inch pipe increase, with just this project, you'd be at 78%.
So without the accurate project, once you add the accurate project, you're gonna be above 80%, no matter what. Even the project that we approved for accurate is gonna be above 80%. Even when the 36-inch pipe theoretically gets installed. This is all just theoretical numbers now.
That is theoretical, yeah, we're working on that information now.
Right now, we already set a precedent on by approving the accurate, it's over the 80%.
That's the first time of it, but seemingly that appears to be the case.
We're not setting any precedent. We've already set one. Just with these numbers.
We anticipate when the accurate, but when the Metro Park 5 buildings were in, the 6-inch pipe would be in place. That would have been at 78%.
No,
No.
what Brian's saying now is that without the accurate project, when we increase the pipe, it'll be at 78% per the flow data that you have, per the data that you have now. Without any project, all we're gonna do is.
That's not what they presented then.
No, we didn't knowingly, we didn't.
No, I know, I'm just trying. I
Understand.
It's a theoretical, appendix D, presented that from ways and percentages.
Back and look at the minutes.
Go over an 80% on, at least on the 36-inch.
Right, that's.
We might have gone over the existing, knowing that.
Knowing that the
years
36
not-
was coming and they weren't going to build 5 buildings. We were going to get.
We just had different flow data.
So. This is what gets me is that
So that's the.
we're basing everything on flow data, which could change.
We're taking
So
hypothetical
it's
views.
So it's unfortunate that maybe your flow data is higher than their flow data
Flow data.
for the accurate. I'm just trying to compare apples to apples here.
Using the same flow data.
The standards that.
No, there's
Standards.
Would be using the same snapshot, because we're gonna, just to make it clean, I think the best idea, and again, we're still working on that, would just be come in. And rather than compounding to say, okay, we're just starting from, they have an approval for 91,000 gallons per day. But the request would be for the delta, for the increase in the size of the project. So it'd be, 122,000, 122. Sorry, when we start going back and forth.
Yeah.
So Brian, what you're saying is Accurate has an approval right now, but given the reconstitution of what.
You don't want to be looking at the
doing.
minutes from 2018 and say, well, they have 91 here, but now they're going to increase the project. We're only going to approve, now we're going to approve an extra 30, so there's 2. Just come in and show the data for that one project as a whole.
It's an interesting wrinkle because they have approval for a project.
They do.
They don't have approval. It's not like we allocated 90,000 gallons per.
They have that approval right now.
They have approval for a project.
Correct.
So if they're coming back in, they're coming back in for a new approval.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so we cleaned it up. It's sort of supersede that. So there would be 1, 2. We're just asking for the delta here. No, it's 1 project.
I know.
What did you say either?
So let me help. So Accurate has approval. And they were gonna do a certain amount of residential, hotel and,
I don't want to muddy the water with Accurate because we'll be back here.
yeah, I think that's fair. But they have an approval, but from what we hear, they wanna go more residential. So they'll come back to us with a new plan that says, okay, the old plan as it stood, doing that anymore. We want you to approve a new plan. So then the question is there some sort of carry-on ability for them to say, okay, we got 90 before, we want to keep that 90 and add it.
That was my point. Because if you say, no, we're not going to give you the extra, they're just going to say.
If we say we just gave it away last
Looking for more units, which would be more flow. If they don't get that, they're still going to use the flow that they have to build if they can.
Yeah.
Because this
I gotta tell you, my 10+ years, this is the trickiest one.
higher risk of SSOs.
This project,
UINI.
81 Black Rock, existing flow, and the proposed additional flow on this project with existing pipe flow, and it will only get better once the 36 inches.
We have 750,000 next week.
They could build this.
Which is probably gonna be-
issue. This year, existing system, 78%.
Say we didn't spend any. I think we did.
I calculated 79.6%.
That's what I got, like, that's what I got.
We did 50,000 or so feet of. I don't know where.
Yeah, that's where it was. But now it's,
So we've got
now it's overrun.
3 miles. Gravity sewer that needs to be lined over.
So these are two empty sites that are ripe for development. And it's the part of town that's growing. They're not, it's not change of use. It's not a knocking down one and changing the other. These are two empty sites which are developable and not like converting an office building to something different. I'm just trying to, I'm just kind of struggling with it because I know where our standard flows are, but this is a perfect site for development and what, if this isn't it, it's just gonna sit vacant. All,
I'd like to stay married to the 80%. I mean, quite honestly.
There's a really good reason to stay honest to it.
Yeah.
And that is if we make an exception, we're already in court with 15 Umpqua because of that 80% rule. So that's what I'm having a problem with. Any number I hear over 80 brings in 15 Umpqua in my mind.
but in my mind, I hear you on that, but in my mind, 50 and Umpqua is different because that's an office building. That's something that's classified as an office and something separate. Here you got two lots here and you got, between Accurate and this is what this whole area has been built for.
My argument would be if I'm the judge and they could point to, and you said you've allowed 84, 82, 81 here, center of town,
I would
there you
say,
go. It's not a question of
this
what kind of.
project as it stands, as it stands, this project, with this flow will be 80% capacity.
Yeah, but you're exculpating Accurate.
I am, that's correct.
And they already have approval that hasn't expired. Let me ask the commission, if there was diligence done on actual projected water use, because that's what really holding this up. This idea of, let me give you a few examples. That in the co-working space, 580 gallons per day, I believe. I'll find it, but 580 gallons per day, peaking factor of 4, 2,300 gallons a day from a co-working space. 4,000, we're in these calculations, we're saying 4,000 gallons per day are gonna come from the garage, 4,000 gallons per day. So that's ridiculous. 800 gallons per day from the pool, which, the pool's not tapping into the sewer system. That's like,
It accounts for, under the health code, it counts for people who
They have to drain and dump it.
shower.
just people showering.
Oh.
Yeah, that sign, shower before using the pool. Yeah, 800 gallons per day, year round. If data came into the commission using trademark data of, very similar product, I would think, right, in terms of square footage and so forth, of what the actual usage is for a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom pool and so forth. Would that give us the level of comfort to opine on this?
Yeah, I don't think you have any 3 bedrooms there,
Well,
but
I mean,
yes, I understand your
that-
concept. I understand your concept. If this thing comes out to be 110% more than trademark as far as the space goes, and you multiply their usage by this 110, yes, that would give me comfort.
So actual usage from trademark.
And then there's the other project. What's the other project on the corner there? Where the pizza place is, Sally's. What's that one?
That's trade.
It's trademark, it's one across the street.
Sorry, what's the one on the other side? Alto. Yes.
Yeah.
Either one. I mean,
I think we should look at both.
And we don't need 4,000 gallons per day from the garage. I mean,
Can I ask a question? Did Brian go above and beyond using this Board of Health or whatever guideline? Have people that have presented projects said, okay, you're gonna get 4,000 gallons from the parking garage, you're gonna get 800 gallon, have other,
I'll tell you where it came, who came in and did a great job with that was Sunrise. They said, here's what health department says, here is what 3 or 4 other nursing homes, skilled nursing homes in the area have use our data, and we use that data.
I mean, we can ask Mike Bartos, he did the calculations, if you want to go down through his assumptions about where.
Before that, what have we already allocated us on the 36 inch? Because I'm comfortable approving anything up to 80% on the 36.
Right.
Who cares about the 30? Hopefully that's gone within 2 years anyway.
It says where,
We've already allocated 80% on the 36, then
what,
by
so,
our standard, we can't approve anything on that line.
so including accurate into the 36, it sounds like we're in the low
You're
80s.
still working on that. I just did back of the napkin calculations. I don't want to submit those into the record until they're been reviewed and.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we work with you over the course of the next couple of weeks and come up with a more educated approach to what we think usage will be based on some very recent comps that have been approved. Maybe factor into the 36-inch line and maybe even some I&I. Let me ask you, Matt, you might know this. Can we go larger than 36?
the rest of the pipe
I
down
think
to
it
the
goes
plant is
into a
36.
36. There's no point
Wait, no, 30.
downstream of this. I thought it was 36.
Yeah.
All the way to the plant, it's 36.
I know.
If you put a 40,
When we're,
It's just gonna bottleneck.
it's gonna be, get the 36.
no bottleneck at the 30.
What 30? If you're replacing the 30,
When we get to Post Road.
The big pipe goes into a little pipe.
it'll bottleneck wherever that
A
happens.
bigger pipe upstream might as well be the same size as the. I mean, I would also just be curious though where the 15,000 of line and repair is from phase 5. If any of that's upstream of this, then
That would be a good thing.
we do that
We could
this year. or
prioritize this and get some of that I&I out of it.
That would improve the flow data over the next 2 years drastically.
What other, you said you do some developments up in Boston area? Do you have flow data do you have a similar development like this one?
That's a good point.
The most recent reapprovals in the past 3 years, we have not done flow data.
No,
No, actually,
no,
Usage
you,
data.
you have an existing that's similar to this.
Water usage data?
Yeah.
Sure do, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a similar project. I think that would be very helpful. Try to get actual data on what you have, and then we can extrapolate
There you go. That's work.
Yeah, I
the
mean,
size of that.
Now, the way the town does the sewer bills, that any basic development that is of similar size and look at their sewer bill and figure out, because that's based on calculation of their water bill.
Yeah, we have that data. I have that data.
Yeah, you just then go back in and figure out how many 1 and 2 bedrooms and.
But again, that's why, the reason why you apply the peaking factor is because it is so overly conservative that there is that's supposed to account for, the I and I.
Conservative, but that actually makes it worse.
The calculation makes it worse, but
Conservative from the usage.
conservative from, yeah, because you're saying your base flow from the development's gonna be 55,000 gallons a day times 4.
Yeah.
Which, but that's because of the I and I and, it's figuring that whole, there's no way that it will ever
Trademark's a good idea for a trademark.
1,000 gallons a day from that facility going into, it's very conservative.
But particular minute flows matter too. I mean, so if everybody flushes at the same time and you get a deluge, you don't want everybody's toilets to back up. That's why there's peaking factors. It's not an average daily. Nobody cares about the
Line to
average.
blow. A line to blow.
Right, yeah,
And have to have time to Super Bowl sometime.
right, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, because Don will tell you the flows in the plant go way up in first thing in the morning and again at 5 o'clock when everyone kind of gets home.
Has anyone done disbursement tanks?
Like equalization tanks.
Yeah.
I mean, municipalities do them all the time as a control for wet weather. Like for combined sewer systems, they have gigantic.
Boston has massive infrastructure for that.
Philly Water has a 1 billion gallon holding tank.
Is that economical for a project like this?
You have combined sewers and the other option is to rip open all the sewers and separate them and build a big cistern and treat.
We ought to do all that work. Let's get trademark data and come back in January.
When are you planning on seeing planning and zoning? Do you have a date up for them?
It's a tentative date. I think it's January 23rd. I could check.
After our chat.
After
Before that.
January B, we just.
17th.
approved it.
20th.
17th is.
17th. Okay, so we're ahead of that. Okay, so I'll make a motion. Gotta clean it up, right?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to defer a decision on 81 Black Rock Turnpike multifamily development to a date certain of January 17th, 2024.
I saw Christine. Christine gets the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Brian, thank you. I know you've done a lot of work on this. I appreciate it.
Well, my buddy Mike Bartles up there.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Mike.
Brian, David in the tax department has the Aquarian data.
Yeah,
I have it. If you can't get it from him, I mean, we have it.
Barry won't give that to me.
We own it. It's our data.
So we want to look at both the impacts of this and the
We're
other
gonna look at what we
in
approved.
total. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
absolutely. We gotta get on numbers.
Say theirs is obviously a lot smaller.
We don't know what their fund is going to be.
Understood.
But I would say it's 90. We don't necessarily. It's that.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice holidays, guys. Brian, Merry Christmas.
You don't want to update, stay on another.
Gonna be here in January.
Right here.
They have, unless
He's sitting there.
he'll be fitting.
Swapped. Okay, so we have update on current projects. Let's, it's 8:45, so let's.
These trucks are already done.
Yep, that's good.
Pump station design update, the first three, the Fairfield Beach, Center Street and Pine Creek has been sent to the state for comment. That's a back and forth, so that's basically where that is. The second phase is the other four.
I just ask you one question on Fairfield Beach.
Yes.
What's externally, what it's gonna look like? Do we have that
No idea.
design yet?
The other four, the second phase, we've had a kickoff meeting with Ty and Bond. They're gonna start that cursory work with easements and all that stuff in January. So that's where we are with that.
And what was sent to the state for the three?
The three is in order to be qualified for funding, you have to submit the design of the first three, the basic, what you're looking to do.
Concept plan or a BODR? Is it a design report or is it actual drawings? Like, have they already gone that far?
I don't think they've gone that far because I think what we're telling them is this is what we're thinking about doing. And then they say, okay, that's good with us. You can go ahead, or these are our recommendations.
Thank you.
The other four, the work is going to start in January, checking easements and all that stuff. So that's where we are with that. Digester update, the primary digester is chugging along like it should, no issue. The secondary, we met with Dennis, we had a kickoff meeting. He's gonna come up with bid documents for the cleaning. And then kind of the repair that's gonna need to be done. The least amount of impact on the neighbors. We will not be anywhere near what we were. So more on that. We're gonna try and get that out to bid as soon as possible, so we can, as soon as the weather breaks, we go. Those are the two I can opine on.
Did I daydream to the digester update?
Say thank God he's
The younger.
lost that. It's going
That's a tape.
I'm telling you, not the clock's my bedtime.
Back to the tape.
Okay, real quick. Primary digester is good. Okay, it's working as it should.
Time for me to go.
Secondary digester, we've met with Dennis, kind of went over the game plan that we think we're gonna implement. We gotta do that, so try and get that out to bid as quickly as possible, so we're ready to go once the weather breaks.
You gotta bid it to the same people that cleaned the first one?
We're gonna bid it. I mean, I hope Tucker gets it because they were good on the first one.
Because I know you were happy with them, that's why I asked.
What is the weather? What qualifies for being ready to go?
Because we have to clean it, there's outside equipment, wash water and everything, so we don't want freezing and anything like that. So once the weather's not gonna be so cold and freezing, then I'm thinking maybe March. Hoping March. If we have a winter like last year, that would be good.
Do any cement?
You just don't want it to go into warmer weather.
Yeah, you gotta get that.
Stinks a little more.
Just a little side note to that, I'm going to talk to BioTriad, the one that implemented the odor control stuff, to have something temporary out there for the temporary press and everything.
Great. Thanks for that update twice.
No problem.
Next we have I'm back on it. I had somebody stop. The org operational and asset evaluation. What's that?
That is currently in legal and HR review and then can be disseminated.
Figure out how that's disseminated appropriately.
That's
Do that next month.
Next month, yeah.
Get another update next month.
There's another update next month.
And then while you're at it, the new.
Yeah.
So, WEA is the New England Water Environment Association. It's the regional professional organization for wastewater. So consultants, vendors, operators, utility leaders, all those folks show up. It's in Boston, late January. There's an exhibit hall where a ton of vendors show off new innovative products, all that kind of stuff. There's a ton of sessions for PDHs, professional development hours, that kind of stuff for both operators and engineers. Really good event, great opportunity for folks at the plant to learn about new technologies, to network with other utilities, compare notes, all that kind of stuff, build relationships, know what's out there. Highly recommend we get a representative from
Makes perfect sense.
WPCF.
Who would go?
Who would go? Exactly. Who is our
Either
representative?
John or one of his designees.
Makes a world of sense.
Well, I will submit the necessary paperwork to HR about,
I think we should, somebody should write a memo to Catherine, or she's a Kathleen, right? Simpson. Somebody should write, I'm not sure, you're leaving, you're staying as chair to alert them that it's coming and to make sure that she's aware that the cost will be reviewed by us and approved by us before it happens. Just touching all bases.
Make sure that
Mr. Chairman?
timing wise, that actually fits into our next meeting. So, or yeah, I guess just, we don't need, do we need an actual meeting to review that?
No,
Okay,
we're
good.
just going to let her know.
Yeah, then I can send that email.
We're going to make a motion now to approve it,
Oh, good.
right? I mean, that's what you're looking for.
That's what I'm looking.
All right, so let's get that on the agenda.
It is up. It was an item E. Didn't we put it on the
No,
agenda?
it's just on the update. It wasn't on the motion. It wasn't on the.
Okay, so
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion.
I'm gonna miss this.
Nuia. I'd like to make a motion to put the Nuia annual conference, which is in late January in Boston, on the agenda to discuss attendance.
Discuss and approve and a budget for the attendance.
Discuss and approve.
Second from Chris, all in favor? Unanimous.
Okay, now I'd like to make a motion to nominate John Bodie to attend this NOIA conference in Boston in late January. And how many days is it?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, 3 days.
And the associated, and authorize the associated costs related to the project not to exceed $800.
Oh,
You got hotel.
10,000.
15, what about, do you have to pay a fee to?
Yeah, there's like, I think, what was it, 300 for?
Full conference is $353.
Okay, we're good.
Boston,
Only
yeah,
$350.
Boston Marriott,
$353 for the conference.
a night?
The,
say 300 a night. I think
Yeah.
it's last second.
I'm gonna,
$214 a night plus taxes plus,
300 a night.
Yeah.
for-
plus,
Okay. Time for
valet. Because if you stay in the,
Valet and mileage, or you're gonna take one of our trucks?
yeah, the town vehicle, so
Take a town vehicle, okay, so gas on the town vehicle.
I'd say 5,000.
2,000. Oh, and meals, wait a minute, and meals, 2 days worth of meals at 100.
It's got the continental breakfast.
but forget the meals because that's.
Not to, not to-
You don't wanna go there.
That's where the 800 came from. He didn't get it the first time I did it. Not to exceed,
You're right, I
I
did.
get that, that's why I said 800. Not to exceed 25, the total,
500?
not to exceed $2,500. That's the approval.
There you go. Second from Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
And then we have a status
Well,
update.
I don't think that was unanimous. I don't think you got Ron.
Behind the recorder.
Was he? No, I'm sorry, you have Ron. Yeah, he's behind the recording box. He's there.
The dark wall.
He's plugged in the dark hole.
The status update on sewer bypass.
The only two bypasses were this past Monday and the Monday before because of the rain. Again, at Haley Avenue, which is a known hotspot, but as I said prior, that whole line along 95 used to be erupting. So we lost about 5,000 gallons per storm at that same manhole. So we are far cry from what we used to be.
Is that the one behind, on the turnpike, the buildings there, the McDonald's? I saw a crew lifting a manhole as I was getting off the turnpike at 22, maybe 3-4 weeks ago.
No, this is more like, you know where the Cumberland Farms is on Kings Highway? Yes.
Yeah, right where you got the exit.
Just before right where you get off the exit.
24 then, 23,
That's
24.
24, 24, yeah. So
It's different, different place. Okay.
Okay.
They were lifting a manhole. I just found it.
That's the only bypasses we.
All right, team 16, at least meetings this year, hundreds of emails, a few fire drills. Nice work. Motion to adjourn. Second by Matt, all in favor. Aye.
Thank you, Mark.
Happy holidays, happy New Year.